Welcome to the Locked In Baseball Podcast. I'm William Locke. We have Luis Bronco joining as always, and a special guest coming on today, Josh Mullenix, college roommate, huge Red Sox fan. He's excited about the team this year. Josh, which one of Cam Schlittler's 12 strikeouts in Game 3 last year?
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's unbelievable. 21 seconds. 21. That's crazy. It was probably one of the ones that he threw in the World Series. Wait, didn't do that because you guys didn't get there either. It's fine. But hey, fellas, glad to be here.
Yeah, been a long time. You weren't on for the Sox pod last time, but I think the last time you were on was probably talking some NBA or something, which we no longer do on this. It's all baseball.
I think we did like a West preview, like just probably 3 or 4 years ago now. Yeah,
we did.
Can I make a bold claim about NBA? I know this is kind of off topic, but hockey is better than basketball. Like NHL is light years away from NBA. I'm sorry.
In terms of watchability, I would say yes, but in terms of popularity, Max Kellerman was on Bill Simmons' podcast. I don't know if you listened to it, but this week he said that there's really only a big three. It's football, basketball, and baseball, and hockey is like just a million years behind. And I would agree. I mean, look at the viewership numbers. The contracts kind of speak for themselves. There's just not as much money in that sport.
I'll just say that, I went to a hockey game this week, and it was pretty fun. I had a blast. They ended up beating up on Canada. They played the Leafs. They ended up winning 5-1. It was pretty fun. And hockey's a good sport to follow. There's more passion in. It's like baseball. There's passion in baseball. People actually care. In NBA, I've been to an NBA and NHL game in less than a week, and it's just not there. But regardless, back to baseball. Josh, the Red Sox, you had to throw that out in the first 25 seconds. I know misery loves company, but hey, let's be honest. We're all in the same boat together looking at the Blue Jays in the AL.
Yeah, I was ready to be friends. And then we had to throw out Game 7. I think it's part of the reason that it's fair to be a little on the fence about what the Red Sox are bringing to 2026. If you put it in context of a lot of the divisions in the sport, they've got plenty to work with. But when you look at the AL East, there's so little margin for error, and it feels like there's one very specific way that the Red Sox play postseason baseball this year, and that's there's just a lot to get through when it comes to your own division in 26. And every single year, this is like one of the best divisions in all of sports. And it's no different this year.
So that way that they lose games is like taking, 12 strikeouts by Cam Schlittler?
That's one way, yeah.
One way. That's one way you guys take it up there in Boston. They talk dirty water and all that, but when was the last time the Red Sox actually made an actual AL World Series? Like they actually were representatives in the AL, William.
Would have been
2018 when they won. Yeah, they have the most. The Red Sox get a lot of flack for not spending money, all that stuff, but they do have the most World Series championships this century. So I do think we have to give them credit in that regard. Heading into last season, they had the best farm system in all of baseball. Now everyone, just because guys like Marcelo Meyer, Christian Campbell struggled a little bit, everyone kind of wants to write off the young guys completely, which I think is very premature. They have really good arms coming up, obviously led by Crochet, but guys like Connolly Early, Peyton Tolley, young arms that fans can be excited about. So yes, it is a loaded division, but I do think that the Sox should absolutely be favored or viewed as one of the teams that can go out and win it if things go right this season. I still do think it is a fair question mark of what are you going to get from this offense? Who's going to be the power bat? We can talk about what they did in the offseason throughout the pod. I don't think they did anything to address that weakness in the lineup, especially after losing Bregman. They brought in the veteran in Contreras. Caleb Durbin's going to be playing third base. They traded for him with Milwaukee, but I think losing Bregman both as a leader and as a guy that, is kind of tailor-made to play in Fenway should hurt this lineup a little bit this year.
Yeah, I think there was a disconnect between, if you asked anybody on November 1st what the Red Sox needed to do this offseason to take a step forward, they would tell you about the home run power. They would point to the one home run that they hit in the postseason, and that was kind of the message, that was the story, and pretty deep into the offseason. And then when you don't end up with Bregman coming back, and there are some of these bats that were out there in free agency that you don't end up with, it's it's almost like they pivoted without really pivoting the messaging. That they, at this point, it's clear they're, we're going to go and get, some above average guys to play in the infield, and that's kind of the direction they end up going at third base with Caleb Durbin. But all at the same time, it felt like they never addressed the elephant in the room head on, that hey, we're just not going to have that bat. Like, it became pretty clear that they were not going to have that bat in the middle of the lineup that they were talking about. And at one point, that was the story, right? Was that they were going to go out and get more offense, and it never happened. And pretty much every decision they made after that was in the opposite direction.
Yeah, no, in regards to that, I kind of feel like with this front office, and I've mentioned this in prior podcasts, it's being financially and fiscally responsible. And I think that's what the Red Sox motto and is.
I love financially responsible front offices. That's my favorite. That gets me going for sure.
I guarantee it gets a bunch of Red Sox fans going. I mean, the fact that they're holding the money and not willing to do these long contracts. I mean, the Bregman deal, I know we talked about it prior, is that they didn't want to do that length. It was the length and the money, which was the big issues. And we see that they had to pivot and go to Caleb Durbin, which, I mean, me and William have talked about Caleb Durbin on podcasts. We think he's a fine player. We think he's going to be a pest. He's going to kill the Yankees probably at how many series, like probably twice or 2 or 3 times a year, that he'll stick it to the team and he'll be a great Red Sox. That's just perfect villain arc, as they say. But, I mean, let's look at what they did do. And I understand that the big bat wasn't there, but you also have to look at what big bats were available. There was only one big bat really available with proven production in free agency, and that was Pete Alonso. And when you look at the Pete Alonso contract, you can –
that the Red Sox were looking at. They weren't going to get Tucker. They weren't going to get Kyle Schwarber. Obviously, Tucker, Schwarber, proven bats. Pete, I think, was the one guy that they should have gone after harder.
Pete, yeah, but then Schwarber, you had the concerns that Schwarber was kind of limited to DH. So you have those concerns.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could.
You have the concerns, and then the Kyle Tucker concerns is like, oh, does he love baseball? Like, there was so much smoke about Kyle Tucker wanting to play in a big market, and you ended up in the best big market that you will go unnoticed in LA, where you can just, I don't want to say hide, but you can just pretty much, just be cool, and you just need to show up in playoff time. And do you even need to show up during playoff time? That's another story, because that's for the Dodgers preview. But when you look at the one bona fide bat that kind of fits the MO for the Red Sox in the free agency was Pete Alonso. And that contract was just, again, doesn't fit the fiscally responsible motto that they do. What I do like, and I know, Josh, you talked about it just recently, it's just like they didn't acquire the big bat and didn't get more offense. I do like what they did in the sense that they raised the floor of this team. Last year, when we were doing the preview, there was a lot of variables that you could have thrown out with the Red Sox. They could have been a really good team. They could have been really bad. We really didn't know how the youth was going to step up. Now, this team, after this offseason, they have a lot of guys who raise that floor. I mean, Wilson Contreras, we know what he is. He's a proven MLB veteran. He's a good bat. He's going to produce, going to hit homers, might not be the 40 home run guy, but he's still going to get you at least 20 to 25 this year and bring some runs in. You also acquired Sonny Gray, which Sonny Gray, we know he's a quality MLB starter. He can end up being up to that low elite tier of MLB pitchers. And we've seen it, him in St. Louis. He's pitched all over the majors and pitched at a high level. You also have Ranger Suarez, who pitched in Philadelphia last year, and he was one of the biggest unsung heroes about that Philadelphia roster. And you add another lefty into that rotation, and now you look at that rotation, they're 1, 2, 3. You got Crochet number 1, which he can arguably be in the Cy Young hunt. Ranger Suarez 2, Sonny Gray 3, Brian Bayo, who I feel like he's one of those guys that there's a lot of potential that they got to scratch out of the surface out of him, who can turn into one of those pitcher 2, pitcher 3 if the Suarez and Grays don't pan out. And then you have Johan Oviedo. They really redid their rotation. And I feel like they're a formidable rotation. They're solid, and they have a solid lineup. And you can't complain about that. The only complaint is, like Josh says, is that, hey, I'm a Red Sox fan. We're a top 5 team in the majors. We have a lot of financial power, and we're not flexing our muscles. We're playing scared, and we're not playing to win. And again, we bring up those comments in free agency. If you are fiscally responsible and financially responsible in free agency, you're never going to win a free agency bidding war, and that always happens.
I don't want to get. I think the product that the Red Sox will put on the field this year is better than the product that they put on the field in 2025. I think it is a better baseball team than it was at the end of last season, and that's part of why I bring up the messaging, is because I think if the messaging was better, and frankly the front office was just less weird, that people would be more excited about the team. Because I mean, you're right. I mean, we can have a real conversation about if the Red Sox have the best pitching rotation, not just in the AL East, not just in the AL, but in all of baseball. Like, that's a reasonable conversation that you can have right now. And if you told me on June 1st that that's kind of what it looked like, then I don't think anybody would be totally surprised by that. And there are bats littered up and down the lineup that you have reason to have faith in, whether it's a guy like Roman Anthony that, I mean, there might not be a guy that has to take a step forward more for a team to be successful than Roman Anthony for this team this year. There's a ton of pressure being put on his shoulders this season, if you just look at the decisions that they made. But I mean, right there, it is. I think it's a good baseball team. It's just not the one that I think on November 1st that you would have thought that they'd be rolling out. But in the entire picture makes sense. The things that they ended up doing, it'll just be, time will tell if it was a collection of decisions that creates a high enough ceiling to compete in this division and in the AL.
I don't know if it's a World Series team. They can make it with the rotation if Gray pans out, if Ranger pans out. I'm not a big Sonny Gray fan. That's just because I'm a Yankee fan. My experience with him was not very good. You talk to an A's fan, a Cardinals fan, their experience might be a little bit different. You mentioned Johan Oviedo as kind of the 5th guy in that rotation. I'd like to see Connolly Early or Peyton Tolley kind of take over that spot at some point this season. I mean, we saw Early pitch in a deciding game in the wild card series against the New York Yankees in the Bronx, and he held his own. I mean, he was solid in that game. I think one of those guys maybe takes over that 5th spot and gets 15, 20 something starts this season. So I'm excited about those guys. I think Roman Anthony going to the WBC could be huge for his development. We saw Bobby Witt go in 2023. Didn't really play much of a role at all on that team, but just being around like the talent on Team USA as a young player, I think is going to be really helpful for Roman. And I think last season, it was the Red Sox fans that really saw how good Roman Anthony was. I think this season is going to be the year where all of baseball sees like, wow, this kid is really special. And now everyone's kind of already focusing their attention on the next guys like Connor Griffin, Kevin McGonigal. But like, don't lose sight on Roman Anthony is still 21 years old, going to be 22 this season. Could very well be top 5 outfielder in the game by the end of the season.
We also forget about Roman Anthony. He did miss a whole month of the season at the end of the season.
I think the Yankees probably lose that series if Roman Anthony's healthy and if Jarren Duran can catch the ball in left field.
Well, it's a whole different. I mean, it's
crazy.
It's a whole different.
I forgot
team.
about that. Oh,
yeah,
it's a whole different team when Roman. We can talk about the splits. It's a whole different team when Roman got called up, and he was a game changer. That team fell off a cliff when he got hurt. And I mean, you talk about the youth on this team. I mean, the youth is going to play a factor. But I want to highlight something, and I know we talked about it a lot with the Jays, and we talked about it a lot in the World Series. But let's talk about the positional versatility the Red Sox have. They have IKF. We know IKF can play the infield.
Good bench piece.
Marcelo Meyer can play the infield. Caleb Durbin can play the infield. You got Cedar Rafaela, who can play the outfield. Durant can play the outfield. Anthony. Like, there's a lot of positional versatility on this team to move pieces in and out of the lineup. And like we talked about, Christian Campbell's in the minor leagues, and if he can get it together, he's another guy that will play a factor. And, you know, the rotation, you talked about the youth that they have in the rotation. I mean, I kind of feel like if you have guys like, you know, you talked about the young guys, having a guy like Johan Oviedo allows you to let those young starters work their way in. They're not forced to pitch meaningful innings. And I feel like that's a big issue we see in major leagues, where we just thrust these minor league guys, top prospects, we put them into these holes, spots, and they're not ready yet. And then when they're not ready yet, the expectations that we place on them are way too high, and then they fall and they underdeliver, and then that's where we get impatient. And, you know, there's also the psychological aspect that you do have to take in mind about the ball player. When he's not hitting the ball 300 like he's been hitting all his life, it's going to play a factor. And, I mean, having these death pieces that they have with the IKFs and the Johan Oviedos, it allows them to play around with the lineup, which for a guy like Alex Cora, we talk about Alex Cora arguably is top 5 manager in Major League Baseball. You remove the whole Astros scandal that happened, but I feel like we can agree that he's one of them ones.
Yeah, it's an interesting lineup, and one that is, while it has lots of options, is also not especially balanced and really crowded in some areas and really thin in others. You know, all of those guys in the outfield making it to, it looks like all of them are going to make it to opening day pretty much. And I think that would surprise a lot of people. There are more, there's, you know, what do you do with Yoshida? You know, what's the kind of Roman Anthony, Jarren Duran, like left field DH combo? Obviously you've got like a really strong piece in center field. Hopefully Wilyer Abreu plays a full season and can stay healthy. But there are more pieces than slots to fill in that outfield. And when you're looking at the infield and, you know, Marcelo is, you know, Alex Cora is talking about him and basically like challenging him out loud at spring training. Now, granted, I think that's just partly because there's nothing else to talk about at spring training with the Red Sox right now, which I would almost welcome relative to what we were doing last spring training and how dramatic that was for so many reasons. But like, there are a lot of guys that could play a lot of positions for the Red Sox, but there are also some places where I think, you know, you just kind of have guys that you don't need anymore. Or you have guys that, like, if you told me that second base is just, and basically since Dustin Pedroia retired, second base has been an issue, or at least a carousel for the Red Sox if you don't want to go all the way to issue. But, you know, right now, you know, late February, the answer to second base right now seems like it's going to be Meyer, at least to start. And that's a guy who has, you know, under 50 games under his belt, hasn't played that much second base, and has a history of not being reliable for an entire season. So it's weird. They've got a lot of guys, and also more like, I wonder how that's going to work out than you might want at this point.
Yeah, Meyer hasn't played more than 91 games in his 4 seasons as a pro. Last year was the wrist thing, got hurt, surgery in the offseason. Apparently, I was reading this article in The Athletic today, Jen McCaffrey, saying that he's up to 220 pounds, the heaviest he's ever been, put on a lot of muscle, did a lot of speed training this winter. He was at, like, I looked on ESPN, he's at 188 last year. Yeah. I don't know if I like that. That's a huge weight gain.
That's a lot of weight.
Don't you love these spring training reports when they come back like, oh, buddy, put on like 50 pounds of muscle, 50 pounds of weight? Like, buddy, like, let's look at, if you guys have a degree, you look at the science behind it. You can't just put 40 pounds of muscle in 3 months. Like,
no, it's like crazy.
It's crazy. Like drug test him now. Like I don't understand why MLB doesn't have allegedly doesn't have a. This is all allegedly.
According to this article, he put on like a ton of muscle, but also now he's super fast. He was running against Jarren Duran and Trevor Story, and he was beating them in races in January.
And Jarren Duran's one of the fastest players in the league. Like,
and Trevor Story started the season 30 for 30 on stolen bases, like broke the Red Sox record all time.
Coming to ESPN soon, a 30 for 30 episode coming to you soon. The Trevor Story stolen base story.
That's another storyline too. Like, can Trevor Story stay healthy for another
100%.
season? That was like
100%.
heading into last season. It was like this dude cannot stay healthy, and then he finally put it together. It was nice to see. But if he gets hurt, the good news is
drug tested.
I guess the good news is you could then, if Meyer's healthy, you could just slide him over to shortstop because that's his natural position. You mentioned the outfield logjam. It is crazy. Like, very surprised that they didn't move one of those guys. Seems like Duran was on the trading block. I mean, since the trade deadline of last year, and he's still on the roster. Like, what do you do at DH? It's because you got Abreu, Roman, Jarren, and Yoshida, and now they're apparently working Christian Campbell in the outfield, getting reps there. He spent his winter a couple weeks in Puerto Rico playing in the Winter League there. Apparently changed his swing a lot. I mean, he got sent down in like May, June, and he was just gone.
Yeah, he did. He did that thing where like his first week, like I think he had a homer and like his debut or something. Like he had like an incredible like 14 days or something, and then fell off the map, and he got sent down, and we never saw him again.
And they gave him like a 6-year, $80 million deal. So I'm not giving up on him. Like there's a lot of people in the media are giving up on Campbell. They're giving up on Meyer. And that's why they're using those as points to like kind of talk this team down. But I'm just not there yet. Like they're still early 20s. Like that's crazy.
Yeah. Look, if there's one word to describe this team, it's logjam. And I kind of feel like the Red Sox are in a position right now where, Josh, you harped on the issues that there's a lot of pieces but not enough spots. It's a game of musical chairs, what we're doing with Boston this season. It's a good problem to have because I feel like the guys that are behind, the presumed starters like Marcelo Meyer are still solid MLB players. I mean, we're not talking like all-star level, but I feel like if IKF is your starting shortstop or second baseman on a contending team and he's your like 7, 8, 9 hitter, I don't think you're getting that bad. I mean, we just saw that IKF was a rotational piece for the AL champions. Like that's not that big of an issue. And I feel like the logjam classifies them. And I feel like, okay, there you have a logjam. You want to trade the logjam. The problem is, it's like you have a guy like Jarren Duran who was on the trading block. You don't want to trade him for more pieces. You don't want to devalue the asset. You want to trade up your assets. And the problem is that the Red Sox are they're so responsible to a fault that whenever the big fish comes out, like there hasn't been a big fish that comes out that they put all their chips in to go to trade for. And that's kind of been the issue where there's not a big fish to go trade for. And so they have to keep the pieces because if they trade down, you're creating a further logjam. You're going to have more and more, and you're just a bang above average team, which isn't bad. But when you're in the AL East, I mean, bang above average isn't going to cut it when you have 4 teams that can push for 90 this season.
The Devers trade was shocking when it happened in early June last year. And it's not like the Luka trade in the sense that like Luka's a much better player than Rafael Devers, but it's similar in the sense that very shocking move. When you saw it, you were stunned. And looking back on it a year later, it's like that deal was terrible for the Red Sox in terms of player acquisition, but it also worked out for the Red Sox and the Mavericks in different ways. The Red Sox were able to get off of the Rafael Devers contract, which a lot of GMs are saying is one of the worst deals in the league, whatever, long term. And he's going to be making like $30 million for the next 10 years almost. And for the Mavs, Anthony Davis is already off the team, just like every other player that the Red Sox traded for in that trade is off the team. And the Mavericks now have Cooper Flag though. So like it worked out for them kind of in a way too. Interesting trades.
The Red Sox made the playoffs, though. That's the key differential between the Mavericks and the Red Sox. And the other problem is that the thing that you have to point out with the Red Sox is that by clearing the books, you kind of undid your logjam in a way by getting rid of Devers. Because if you keep Devers, but just player wise, you keep Devers and that logjam continues. But
if you trade Devers and then you lose Bregman.
Yeah, but I mean,
where's that money going? Rangers.
That money's going to get rid. Rangers.
That's what they would say. Yeah.
I mean,
Roman Anthony extension.
Fiscally responsible. Again,
their payroll is down from 207 to 195 this year.
I just need Breslow to get drunk. Breslow just needs to get drunk one off season and just go ballistic. I want to say other things, but
John Henry needs to.
Yeah. Well, if
it doesn't feel like. I mean, when you think about the things that you learned last year, you learned that Crochet is elite, that he is just Cy Young capable, like he is that good. You learn that Roman Anthony probably has the ceiling as the best outfielder in baseball. Like that's probably the ceiling. Who knows if he gets there? But
Aaron Judge. Once Judge starts to fall off.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm not here. I'm not here to. I'm not trying to start a war here. But if over the next 5 years you did find him like in the very upper echelon, you wouldn't be stunned.
There's a world in 5 years from now where he's better than Aaron Judge because Aaron Judge is 34 or whatever. Yeah,
sure.
100%.
It just doesn't feel like there were a lot of things last year that it felt like the foundation of the next year being a stepping stone. And I think in some ways it is a stepping stone. In other ways, it just feels like kind of a different version of a team with similar talent. And I think that's part of the, I don't know if it's frustration, but it's part of just like the, some people not totally knowing what to do with this team is that it doesn't necessarily feel like they got way better on kind of the back of, hey, we've got this really awesome young player and this guy that can get you a win literally whenever. And maybe that's it. Maybe that ends up being wrong. Maybe we do end up with a team that on the back of Crochet being a really strong ace and then 4 other guys who are just throwing well, and then Roman ends up being just a power bat that you just didn't see coming, even though I think it's reasonable to suggest that he could hit 30 home runs this year. Maybe he just hits way more than that. And some of these things that feel like they are potential issues aren't nearly as big of a deal as we think right now.
Yeah. Some other names, Andrew Monasterio, bench piece. They got him in the Durbin trade. I think he'll be a good bench piece. We haven't talked at all about the bullpen. Chapman was kind of a revelation last year. Everyone thought he was sort of done and dusted, was the best closer in baseball. At some point, he's going to fall off. At some point. But he's 38. He's thrown 103 for most of his career, and he's never had a major injury. I mean, it's one of the more impressive careers in recent memory. Knock on wood. And Garrett Whitlock last year, elite as the setup man. I think there's some question marks in the pen outside of those guys, but that's a really good 8-9 inning. And if you're a Crochet start, game 1 of the playoffs, you only really need him to go 7 or 8 innings and you're set.
Right. I think that's because I agree. A team that is going to win on pitching and defense and win 4-2 and 3-1 a lot in theory. I'd like for the roster kind of in that middle relief area to be. I mean, it's not. We're not sounding the alarm when it comes to what they have there right now, but it's maybe not quite as strong as you might want it to be for a team that is built to win, like the Red Sox are built to win. But on the other hand, if you have the starting pitching that you're going to have, right? It's one of those things like how important is it really going to be? Because if the starting pitching isn't good enough to go, 6-7 deep on most nights, anyways, then everything else is a non-starter because the team's not going to be. They're not going to win enough games if the starting pitching isn't good enough to do that on most nights. But yeah, I mean, if you get to the 8th and 9th, I mean, there aren't many teams. It'll be almost impossible for Whitlock and Chapman to be better than they were the second half of last year. I mean, those guys were basically unhittable for after the All-Star break. So maybe it looks a little different, but he's been doing, like you said, he's been doing it for so long that I just feel it's worth mentioning, but also not worth worrying if this is the year that Chapman is going to fall off. It might be, but it also would be equally as reasonable to suggest he'll be awesome again.
Yeah, I still think he's going to be strong. Also got Tristan Casas, interesting guy, mercurial guy. He's in spring training, doing his plyometrics with a mask on and stuff. He's coming back from patellar tendon surgery. It was an ugly injury last year, and there's no clear path for him. with Contreras at first. I guess he could DH but I think he'll probably start the season in AAA.
That seems to be the case. Yeah.
Yeah. Romy Gonzalez coming back from a shoulder injury. Cutter Crawford had wrist surgery in July. Houck's out for the season. You got Patrick Sandoval. He should be back this season. So like they have some depth there in that rotation too. I don't think it's like I'm not putting any rotation above the Dodgers until they prove it to me in the playoffs. But they're in that conversation of top 3 rotations in baseball. I think Tigers are there. Yankees, when they're healthy with Garrett Cole back and Rodon back, they're in that conversation. I think the Red Sox, the difference that puts the Red Sox, in my opinion, potentially above the Yankees rotation is the fact that Crochet can be a number 2 Cy Young behind Skubal, and who knows, maybe even win a Cy Young. I don't think the Yankees have that. Even Garrett Cole coming back from Tommy John, I don't think he's going to be that caliber, at that caliber of Garrett Crochet. He's just that good. He showed it to us last year, earned the extension, probably underpaid at this point.
Probably, yeah.
Maybe I know he wanted, that was like part of the thing with the trade, is like he wanted to get that extension locked up. Man, if he had just waited one more year, he would have gotten absolutely paid even more.
Yeah. It'll
Luis,
be interesting.
sorry. Luis, any thoughts?
No, I mean, y'all hit nail to head, my guys. Like I said, nail to head. I mean, again, my word of this team is Logjam.
All right. The over-under is 87.5. Last year, they finished the regular season with a record of 87-75. So basically, if you take the over, you're saying they're going to be as good as they were last season. I think the ceiling of this team is a CS. I don't know if they're good enough to make the World Series in terms of lineup construction right now. And I think their floor is 4th place in the American League East. Sorry, they were 89-73 last year, not 87-75, 89-73. So you're basically saying they're a win worse if you take the over. Luis, I'll let you go first. What's your pick?
I'm taking the over. I mean, last year, there's a lot of bad that happened, as Josh mentioned, with the Rafael Devers injury, fiasco in spring training. And this team was a below 500 ball club in May and June. May, they went 11-17. June, they went 14 out of 12. After that, they turned a corner, and then the whole injury happened in September with Roman Anthony, and they went 13-11, and they were again a 500 ball club. I tend to believe that the floor is higher with this ball club, so give me the over.
Josh? I'm taking the over. I'm not coming on to talk about the Red Sox. I'm taking the under. That'd be crazy. Yeah, I think Luis. I think he's right. I think this is a baseball team that can absolutely win 90 games with, being led by Roman Anthony, being led by Crochet. Those 2 guys have to be awesome. And this team can be really good and still not make the playoffs. Like that could happen. And just playing in the AL East. But I'm going to go over. I'm excited to watch him play baseball this year.
Tough pick. I think this number is pretty spot on, 87. Yeah. I think like it's either going to be 88, 87, 86 wins in that range. I feel really good about the Orioles this year. We did that preview a couple days ago. I think their young talent is going to bounce back, but there are still a lot of question marks with that team. I feel like there's less question marks with the Red Sox than the Orioles. So I'll take the slight over with Boston. To your point, they should make the playoffs. Like this should be a wild card team, and they could push for the division. Like I said earlier, it would be a very big disappointment if this team doesn't make the playoffs, even in a loaded division. But you look at the Central, could be only one playoff team there. The West, I think, is pretty weak too. You could have theoretically 4 playoff teams from this division this year. So I'm taking the over slightly. I don't think Crochet wins the Cy Young, but I think it's a possibility. There's a lot of exciting things to watch with this team this year.
If he wins Cy Young, the competition for that award right now is just so crazy that like if he has that, if the other candidates have healthy years and he throws well enough to win that award, I think that's a pretty damn good place to start.
He was a Cy Young winner last season in any normal season without a Terry Skubal. Like Skubal was he's been so good the last 2 years. There is a world in which Skubal, everyone's kind of penciling him in as the Cy Young already, but he could just have a bit of a down year. I mean, he is human,
Yeah.
And he's got a contract year too. So I think there's like an added element of pressure on him this season to stay healthy and secure the bag and to pitch to a level where he's going to get that $400 million that he really wants.
Yeah.
Always about them dollar signs.
All right. Well, we're all over on the Red Sox. Josh, thanks for coming on. We'll have to have you on later throughout the season at some point to talk Red Sox. Fun time.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Go Sox. And I'm ready for some baseball. It's cold. I'm tired of being cold. Let's play some baseball.
Quick hitters before we leave. Who's winning the college basketball championship this year?
I'm gonna go with the Blue Devils. I'm gonna go with Duke.
Luis, who's your pick?
I got Michigan.
Okay. I can't pick Michigan. I my gut says they don't win, so I'll take Arizona, even though Arizona always comes up short.
I like Michigan a lot. I like Yaxel. I like the Twin Towers. I mean, we know Memphis is not making it. Butler's not making it. Neither is Xavier. So,
Yep. And NBA Finals. Who's winning?
I think I need to default to the Thunder for now. I got no idea in the East. I'd probably take the. We'll go the Knicks. That would be the most fun. So I'll go with the Knicks because I'm not taking the Pistons in year one of them being a year two, but like expecting them to make it to the finals that's a lot of pressure. And the Cavs and James Harden, that's a dynamic duo of underperforming in the playoffs right there. So I'll go Knicks, Thunder, and the Thunder just when it counts are still, I think, better than everybody else.
So awesome.
Give me Denver.
That's fun. I think that's fun.
I like the Spurs. I just feel like Wembanyama's going to go win bananas.
Yeah.
They have a chance.
Yeah.
Any good shows you're watching right now?
Any good shows? We're watching Shrinking. Is that what it's called? The Jason Segel show on Apple TV. It's good. It's funny.
Apple TV. Everything's behind a paywall these days. I don't have Apple TV. I watch those games in different ways. There was that one good show, the World War II show on Apple TV a couple years ago with Austin Butler, Birds of the Air or something. It was so good. I highly recommend. It's on that platform.
Masters of the Air.
Masters of the Air. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Great show. I haven't been watching anything. Movies. I watched Whiplash for the first time recently.
Okay.
Very good. Recommend that movie. Either of you guys haven't seen it. And there's that Morgan Freeman documentary coming out he's narrating. It's directed by Steven Spielberg about dinosaurs.
Looks
really good. Looks really good.
Amen.
Luis, you watching anything good, or you just tapped into God knows what? Club 420. What is that podcast called?
I listen to Club 520 religiously at work, and that's where one of these days HR is going to call because I just laugh. Not really. I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty, prepping for the half marathon, working out, watching a little bit of hockey. And gotten into hockey lately, and so pretty much that's it. Not much else.
All right. Well, Josh, this was fun. Luis, we'll be back tomorrow. I don't know who's on the docket tomorrow, but Josh, we'll have to have you on at some point throughout the season. Good luck to the Red Sox. Kind of hope they suck, but all right. Thanks all for listening, and we'll catch you next time.